Web3 AI Startups, the new black.
Hello, how are you two?
Hello, we're great.
Fantastic. So, continuing the trend, you two are superheroes, and every superhero has an origin story. Who are you? Where are you from? What are you up to? And then we'll dive in.
Okay, I'm Jane Thomason. I'm not from anywhere. I'm a total global nomad. I do not have a house, so don't ask me where I pay rent, which is a problem for a bank account because you always have to send them your rates notices. But my background's in healthcare, then I moved into blockchain, Web3, Metaverse, and now I'm loving AI as well. So the convergence of all these technologies and how it's going to impact on us as a society.
I'm Stoyan Angelov, and I'm passionate about new technologies, AI, blockchain, events and entertainment. And I'm combining these passions on the projects that I'm building. Actually, it's called Evedo ecosystem, where we are doing technology solutions for the event industry.
For the event industry.
Event
like
industry.
Where we are now.
Exactly.
That's fantastic. Okay, so like with the other panels, you two were very good. You provided me questions to ask you in advance. So I'm not checking the price of Bitcoin. I'm actually checking your questions. The Bitcoin is doing very nicely.
That's depressing for me because my son told me to buy some in 2010 and I didn't.
Yeah, well, that's your problem. Okay, so how will... just teasing my love. Okay, so Jane, we're going to start with you. How will the combination of AI and Web3 impact on travel, hospitality, and I'll add events?
Okay, I can do events as well, but I want to go for the trifecta because I want AI, Web3, and immersive technologies. I think Mark Zuckerberg appropriated Metaverse and ruined it, but I actually think if you think about the future where you've got AI that's going to enable you to look at very quickly and analyze the data and connect with customers and provide precision insights into the data. And then you've got blockchain that's going to be able to secure, to allow for the secure data exchange and the exchange of value. But then you're making that available in immersive experience. So what it means for events is that we might not always go to the events, like Qatar did the World Cup in a metaverse so people could go to that experience. And I think we're going to see a lot more of that being combined with AI and Web3. And in hospitality and tourism, so you think about planning your next trip. Now you can go into an immersive experience and have a look at Malta and have a look and think about whether you want to be at Malta. Have a look at the AIBC experience. Talk to some people in the crowd about the AIBC experience. So it's going to enable people to prepare for their experience, and we're seeing the creation of digital twins, for example, of hotels, of cruise ships, of all of those kinds of things. And then, as we discussed the other day, Web3 is enabling you to connect these traveller communities within a token ecosystem, if you like. And they're even real-world assets. Citizen M is allowing people to buy tokens that allow them to own a part of their hotel. So we're seeing every aspect of, what you think that Web3 can do being implemented in travel and tourism. Blockchain's creating efficiency and allowing the ticketing process to be smoother, allowing you to sell your NFTs on secondary markets if you don't make the trip. So it's a huge amount going on in hospitality and tourism, and AI allows the precise targeting of those customers because they've got the data and information about them.
Let me ask you, because maybe it's a generational thing for me. I remember during COVID, there was a whole thing of you don't actually have to go to the conference. You can do the conference in the Metaverse. And you can put on your glasses and look at Mark Zuckerberg looking like a Second Life avatar. And I found that distinctly unattractive.
It was a very bad experience. I only went to one of those. But what the evidence is actually saying is that you don't go into the Metaverse and have the trip. you go into the metaverse and have a look if you want to go to Malta, or you'd prefer to go to Sicily or Crete, or indeed Switzerland for skiing. So it actually encourages travelling, but people can be a lot more informed about the experience they're having. But the second thing that I think is really important is that if you're disabled or if you're old and you can't travel anymore, you can have the travel experience without having to go somewhere. So it's not necessarily for you and me, but for some people it's really useful.
Sure, and I think for people who are, whatever the term is, differently abled, a lot of this tech is adaptive and helpful.
Also, I want to add here about how Mark Zuckerberg looks like 2D animation character. It's the same like if you see the gaming 20 years ago. It was very bad graphics, very, very not so realistic stuff. Like they need time to be developed for sure. And now with the AI, we will have the opportunity to rent real time, realities that are similar, like the Unify and the other really 100% realistic environments, having the metaverse on a better way, to really explore it, not just see some crappy pictures, for example.
So I think with technology that is not immediately adopted, there's always a debate about whether the idea is early or bad, right? You don't know necessarily. Like Google Glass, early or bad? Maybe it's bad because now Apple Vision, they're not coming up with a new one. Maybe people just don't want that. Maybe the future's not what we had in mind. It's just four-legged dogs walking around, robotic dogs walking around. Who knows? So I'm not down on the idea of these events. I just don't know. Did I enjoy flying from Dubai here, having to fly through Qatar and Rome to get here 16 hours later, needing deodorant and everything? Would I rather do that with the metaverse? Sure, but now I'm here. I'm happy I'm here. Now maybe I want some augmented reality augmentation so I can remember people's names better. But it's like, I'm not quite sure.
I think that this technology will give more opportunities and will not be able to change exactly what is the real life experience. But it can be a good option when you are not able to travel, or when you don't have to travel, or when you just decide, okay, this one I'm getting it from distance, the other one I'm going in person because it's more important for me, let's say. And that's how the technology actually, yeah, it's always scary, and it's you see it's exciting and scary at the same time. But if you think about like 15 years ago, if someone tell you that everyone will be like spending half of the day on the phone without watching the people around, you say, oh, I don't want this. But now this is the reality, and you have so many benefits to have the smartphone here on your hand and exploring everything and connecting with everyone. And yeah, it's a bad thing that people are spending half of the day on the phone, like me, for example, because all the work, everything is there, all the contacts. And but at the same time, I cannot imagine my business now without this thing on my hand.
And it's not an either or an or. It's a bit like thinking about AI enhancing your ability to be able to do things. It can bring you more richness. But just coming back away from the metaverse, and I know I started that, I'm just coming back to Web3 and thinking about maybe the discussions, if anyone was here yesterday talking about football and fandom. In the same way, you've got huge travel and tourism companies like Marriott Bonvoy, for example, who've got millions of people already on their platform. And these companies are now starting to say, well, how can we use Web3 and NFTs to be able to enhance their experience, so to offer them token-gated events or rewards or things like that, building brand loyalty in the same way as we're seeing happening in sports. So this is already happening, and a number of different brands are experimenting with it, and I think we're going to see more, and it's going to be a way of getting their communities connected and staying connected, because you'll have, instead of me having to go on TripAdvisor and write a comment about a hotel that's going to be intermediated about TripAdvisor, I'll be able to be on these fan communities or these travel communities and share direct information from my experience with other people peer-to-peer. And I think that that's going to become more popular.
Let me do an audience poll. Speaking of being caught on your phone. So let me do an audience poll. Who has planned a trip using ChatGPT? Or some AI tool? Right? Isn't that interesting? I mean, it is practical already.
It's revolutionary, actually.
I know, it's like Netflix or Amazon recommendations, but it's a little bit more structured and in-depth and time-aware.
And you know, when you understand, actually, the AI is the topic that I really want to speak 24 hours a day. Of course, the blockchain as well, but like when you understand that the perplexity that you, like if you use Perplexity or ChatGPT or whatever else tool, like you have it as one super intelligent person, let's say, that you can interact with and not rely 100% on what he's saying. But you can do interactions, and plan whatever you do. If it's your business plan, or it's your trip, or it's your speech on the conference, or it's whatever. And here with the AI that is existing now, we are like on steroids for everything that it can be done in the everyday life, you know.
Maybe it's not directly on point, but I feel like sharing. There's a movie, I think, by Ridley Scott called The Counselor with Michael Fassbender and other people's names, Cameron Diaz, and I kind of like it. It bombed. I mean, Brad Pitt. I liked it, but it bombed. And I've seen it a few times, and I watched the extended director's cut, and I asked ChatGPT, why the hell do I like this movie? Yeah. Okay, because God if I know. And it actually answered my question. I'm like, oh, okay, that's true. That is actually why I like this movie. Okay, the nuance of the characters, and then the fact that the characters look good, but they're really sleazy. The main character's a lawyer who, maybe I could relate. It was a little scary. So I was like, sometimes it knows you better than you know yourself, and it's a little freaky, but it's cool.
And for example, like when we speak about startups, and now if you really don't use this technology, you're like a digital entrepreneur without having a website. It's a must now, and people are progressing 100 times faster than 2 years ago when ChatGPT was not available. And when we have the combination with the Web3, which is giving you this infrastructure of decentralized networks and value transition and smart contracts, and you have also at the same time the tsunami wave of the AI, like we will see a lot big companies failing very soon, and a lot companies that are created right now to become multi-billion-dollar companies very fast. And that's the thing that is exciting me a lot, actually.
Fair enough. Now, Jane, you raised, I want to be time sensitive. I'm going to go to your second question, and I think you'll both have something to say about it. You seem to have an interest in the intersection between AI and healthcare. Can you touch on that, please?
Yeah, absolutely. And yesterday we were talking about AI and education, because I think it's going to disrupt all of these things and change the way we experience it. The big thing about AI and healthcare is going to be the move to precision medicine. And what I mean by that is, at the moment, let's say you go to a doctor and they go, oh, Gordon, you're 6'5" and you weigh 90 kilos. Oh, God.
Sure, 90 kilos.
And like the standard treatment for someone...
90 kilos on the moon.
The standard treatment for someone like you is this. There's nothing that takes into account your family history, your genetics, your metabolic history, lifestyle factors, and what's going to happen in the future, because all of these data are going to start becoming available in health data marketplaces, because blockchain can give us the secure storage and transmission of data that wasn't possible before. So people would never move the health data anywhere because they couldn't do it securely and anonymously. So they're going to have all this information about you, and they're going to very precisely propose programs of treatment for you. So that's where it's going. So health accounts for nearly 40% of all the data that's created in the world, and it's growing exponentially. And access to health data is going to be good for the patient. It's going to be good for science and discovery. It'll accelerate clinical trials, and it's going to mean that our capacity to be able to manage people better will improve, and a lot of it will be done outside of institutions, because you're using wearables and similar things. They're going to be gathering all sorts of information about you, and it's going to enable you to do a lot more care at home, self-care, particularly around wellness and all of those things associated with that.
I think it's I'm finding fascinating that AI is finding markers of disease before it becomes apparent to well-trained doctors. And it's not just that they're more perceptive and able to look closer, it's that they're making linkages that are non-obvious and maybe not even human recognizable. It's like when they beat the Grandmaster at Go. Sorry, I'm going to join the panel for a second. I remember being fascinated by that. It's different from chess, because when AlphaGo won, it made a move that the person described it that no human would make. It was an alien mind move. But now that humans saw that alien mind move, Go Grandmasters are now playing like the AI. Like the AI taught them something, and it was always in front of their nose, but now they can see it. It's like the most bizarre thing. It's a fascinating world. Go ahead, please.
And that's how it helps actually for the humans to develop more options, right? And to learn more things. It's the example with the Go is exactly what you can apply in your everyday business or in your startup idea. Something that it's completely different as what you think. It can be found through the AI interactions that you have.
And I just wanted to add, so there's one thing which is that, like this pattern recognition for precision medicine, but AI is going to really help and is already helping. For example, doctors and nurses get caught up in administrative work, writing reports and all of that kind of documentation that's now required. The AI is going to be able to take away a lot of that stuff that can be automated, that administration work that they do, so that they can spend more time on clinical care. But plus we now have AI diagnostics. So there are certain diagnostic procedures that, for example, diagnosing retinopathy, that an ophthalmologist used to have to do. And there's now an AI which is cleared for use in the US and in Japan, that allows the diagnosis of retinopathy, which means the ophthalmologist has more time to do higher order clinical care. It's going to be an incredible adjunct and help to people working in the healthcare system.
Interesting. And I think also the ability to have it act in sort of a coaching manner in a persistent way. You know, it's one thing if you go to your doctor every year and they're like, lose weight. Okay, well, that's great. Thanks. But if this thing's sitting on top of you going...
You mean you're not 90 kilos?
Huh? Again, I am on the moon, or Mars, let's say. On the moon, maybe I'm 40. But, you know, to have a persistent presence, on one hand, it's potentially oppressive. You get a kind of Chinese-style social credit system. But on the other hand, it can be nice, you know, because that little voice that's telling you not to have that next drink can actually be a real voice in your ear saying, look, you told me to tell you this. I'm telling you this. Yeah. Do not do it.
I'm your good friend. Please.
Yeah.
And then we can throw in some Web3 token rewards to incentivize you not to have that drink.
To gamify the whole thing.
Yeah.
Okay, Stoyan, so let me go to your questions, because we have a few minutes left here. I'll start with you. What are some common misconceptions entrepreneurs have about Web3 ecosystems, and how can these lead to unexpected risks or challenges in the startup journey? So common misconceptions relating to Web3.
You know, like there are entrepreneurs that are still not in the Web3. And usually, on the bull markets like we are now, everyone starts speaking again for Web3, for blockchain startups, for new token launches, for everything that is related with very fast results in doing business, as growing communities, as developing products, all this stuff. And what the entrepreneurs that are still early in blockchain and Web3, and what they don't know is actually that there are tremendous amount of risks that they need to consider before they go and have successful project. Like I'm speaking from my experience, because we launched a couple of products in the last 6 years, and things that you never know that exist, like to have the, earlier there was on the panel like this, the token, what is tokenomics, what is token design, what are the things that people need to find and structure for their token. Nobody knows that he needs certain amount of liquidity. He needs it's completely project in the project to create your own token for your product, because it can help you a lot to grow and jumpstart your product, or it can really make you down, and it can make like very good product to fail because you don't understand how the blockchain works when it comes to token development. And not only implications and applications in your product, but when you fundraise, for example, with your token, this is completely different deal. And my best advice here is to have advisor that's experienced, because there are so much things that the entrepreneurs need to think about and take care of before they go to market. And yeah, that's my 20 cents here on this topic.
Cool.
No, I agree, but what I wanted to add too is that you can create any kind of product, but if you don't have the community to be able to share that product and take that product, then you're not going to get anywhere. And I think a really interesting example at the moment is what's happened with Telegram, because they had 950 million users on their channel, and now they've introduced a blockchain and a token, and they're building all these sorts of mini apps on Telegram, but they didn't have to go search for a community. They had the community. And that's why, back to the travel and tourism example, you've already got big communities that exist, and it's a matter of seeing how you can engage that community, and similarly in the football and the sporting examples. So you've got your tokens. Unless you have a way to be able to engage your community, it's going to be more difficult.
But then again, what's his name, Pavel Durov, when he created Telegram, you still have to create a community. The reason they have a token, the reason they have a community for the blockchain and for the token is because they made the community before, but when they launched Telegram, they didn't have a community right from the start, unless it's coming over from mail.ru or whatever he had. So you have to do it at some point. You know,
the community is 50% of your work when you build blockchain. And no matter if you already have existing product with a lot of clients, that you introduce them some blockchain application, let's say, or you from the scratch you are building something that, if you don't have the strategy how to grow and growth hack a huge community, your token could be worthless without this community. And it's very important to develop. Yeah.
Well, let's riff off Jane's comment. The Telegram example is interesting. Do you build a non-blockchain community first and then deploy your blockchain? Is that unnecessarily complicated, or is that the right move? Or, if you're launching your blockchain, do you build a community simultaneously?
The important
thing. Sequence?
The important thing to know is that without community, the blockchain is nothing. I mean, your product is nothing without this community, because these are your users, these are your ambassadors, these are your clients and people that are giving you also feedback, and they give you advices for how you go and where is your product market fit, all this stuff. And without community, you cannot. And no matter if you have it before that or you build it from scratch, like you need to know that this is like maybe 20–30% of all your business when it comes to a Web3 project.
Fair enough. Let me go to your next question. In the minute and a half we have left, we're going to make this fast. So, considering the regulatory uncertainty in the Web3 space, something I'm very familiar with, how should founders, besides for finding a great lawyer, how should founders prepare to navigate potential legal risks and future-proof their startup? Fast answer, and then Jane also.
For me, MiCA is something very good that is happening in Europe, for example, where you have some regulation that if you follow this regulation, you are legit. And of course, there are some things that can be redone, but in general, this is answering this question, and I think the regulation is not a bad thing.
It's not a bad thing, but is MiCA good regulation?
on my understanding, is 60% good, 40% not so good.
Okay.
But nevertheless, go somewhere where there's regulatory clarity. But the other thing that's been developed in the last year is the British Commonwealth, which is 54 countries, has had developed a model law for digital assets that's now been accepted by the Commonwealth and offered to Commonwealth countries as a kind of a template that they can use and modify. So I think we're increasingly seeing regulations developing where people are going to be able to go and have some regulatory clarity.
And that's a lot. The last time I heard anyone say British Commonwealth was 15 years ago. Wow. That's like saying the Allies. Okay.
I just want to add here that I have, in my experience, so many people that were scammed on the Web3 projects, and this is because there was no regulation. If there is regulation and you know this project is compliant with the regulatory, that means that they are not a rug pull or they are not scam, and they are a startup that it can fail, but it will fail fair, you know? Then it will be easier for investors, it will be easier for people that are doing startups.
Fair enough. And we're out of time, so big round of applause for our panel.
Thank you.
Good job, good job. Well done.